that I love Tansi, it's a beautiful community, but I do not make my home in Tansi, therefore I don't have a horse in this race, as it were, so point that out to you right off the bat. We have several questions that were pre-submitted, and I'll be covering those questions one by one. Then, if time allows, we will open the floor to questions. And what we're going to do is, if and when we do have time for questions, we're going to restrict it, please, to one question per person with a 1-minute time limit. Please ask a specific question and identify the category before asking your question, if you would, please. Thank you very much. I appreciate your cooperation. Then at this time, we are ready to start the questions. Question number 1 pertains to unimproved lots. This question submitted by Richard Despard. By the way, if I mispronounce someone's name, I apologize. I will do the best I can. Richard Despard, Wakita Circle. And the question is, why aren't all lots being charged the $1,500 availability fee, not only lots with structure on them? So
that's a pretty simple question to answer. Basically, the utility district doesn't have the authority to charge vacant lot owners any fees of any type.
You don't have authority to charge me.
It's by state law. We do not have the authority to charge any fees of vacant lots.
Before we move on to the next question, I almost forgot to point out that we do have some dignitaries with us here this evening. If these folks would like to stand up and be recognized, that would be great. That's your choice. First and foremost, our newly elected county mayor, Kenneth Carey. Members of the task force with us tonight, Jan McNeil, Joe Coaster, Mary Nagers, and this next person was chosen by the task force members to be its chairman, Ken Denman. I apologize that I did not recognize you all before I started the questions, but thank you for being here as well. Now I'll let them introduce themselves then.
Herb Howard, President of Tansi Sewer Utility District.
Mike Alton, Vice President of the Utility District. Mike Alton.
Jim Heath, and I'm the Secretary of the Commissioners.
Thank you.
I'm Krista Johnson, the Office Manager of Tansi Sewer Utility District.
She's soft-spoken.
I'm Krista Johnson, the Office Manager with Tansi Sewer Utility District.
All right, our next question pertains to service area priorities. This question was submitted by Linda Hilger of Oswego Road. And her question is, what is the time span for the sewer to reach the outer property owners, such as Quapaw 1, Oswego Road, and do we property owners in this area have to pay the charges now?
If you will look at this map to my right, you'll see this on the big map. There's an area outlined in orange. That is what we have designated as Phase 3. Phases 1 and 2 are just about complete, and Phase 3 is scheduled for completion this year, 2011 and 2012. Now, if you picked up the little maps, and I'm sorry there weren't enough, I printed 200, and I hope that you share them right now with your neighbor if they don't have one, because on that it shows you all the areas that we have separated out and put a earliest possible date on it. So that if you happen to be in one of those areas that says 2017, you have 7 years before you'll have to even think about this. And that's probably the earliest possible time we can get to that area. All of those dates is the earliest we expect to be able to expand into that area. And that's what the maps are for, and that's just the best engineering estimates we can.
What are you going to do in 2013? There's no date on here.
Well, there's nothing, no area that's scheduled for 2013 at the present time, because after we complete the next level of construction, there will be some downtime until we engineer the next phase. The only time that you become eligible for paying any fees at all is that after you are noticed by the utility that the sewer is within the proper distance from your house, and that you have then 60 days before that will take effect. So if you're in the area in 2017, obviously you're not going to get charged any time before that.
I'd also like to add to the answer to that question. There's a green dashed line on the large map that shows the watershed of Lake Tansi. That means anybody that's living in that district or in that area, they would be the ones to experience the sewer earliest, because our goal is to protect the lake. And if you live in that area, that's the watershed that is affected by the lake.
Moving on to question number 3, pertaining to operations and maintenance. This question submitted by Tracy Osborne of Yeehaw Lane. I love that name. Tracy's question is, what contingency plans are in place in the event of a spill?
Well, we don't expect to have a spill. There has been designed into the plan a significant amount of redundancy and capacity, so that we can only receive a certain quantity of effluent or sewage from the customers, but we have probably twice as much capacity at the plant to handle that. So if there was an incident that we could not handle the processing of the waste for a period of time, we have the capacity to store the waste until we can fix it. As an example, power outage. If the power outage happens, the grinder pumps don't work either. So we're not... I'll answer that later. You can ask that question during a later time. The maintenance, or the capacity, is probably 2.5 times what is required at full, until the plant will not handle anymore. But we're restricted by our permit as to how many gallons or thousands of gallons we can handle with this existing plant.
That's phase 3?
Please refrain from yelling out questions. We will try to get through these as quickly as possible, but if we take questions at this point, we won't have a chance to open the floor to questions at a later time. So I'm trying to move this along as quickly as I can. Question number 4 pertaining to engineering and construction, submitted by Ron and Judy Brown of Yellow Dog Drive. What grinder pump system are you using, and what is the manufacturer and model you are using for the proposed Tansi Sewer Utility District system?
The grinder pump we intend to use and are using at the present time with the current hookups that we have is the Barnes Ecotrans system, 220 volt, 60 single phase 20 amp electrical service is required for that pump. It was recommended, and we reviewed the recommendations by the engineering firm that designed the system.
I didn't understand any of that. Next comes the personnel. This question submitted by Janice Fields of Cravens Drive. The question is, what are the current salaries of the people who run/operate Tansi Sewer Utility District, and what is the cap of those salaries?
There currently is only 2 employees for the utility district. The general manager, which makes an annual salary of $27,000, and the other is Krista, the office manager, who is $9 an hour. There is a part-time contract tech that does some service work at the plant. It's on a contract for $800 a month, and that's it.
Krista Johnson is employed part-time, not full-time.
Who's the general manager
Again, please refrain from questions until we can open the floor to allow everyone to hear it. Question number 6, creation, dissolution. This question submitted by Lisa Voigt of War Eagle Drive, and the question is, why was there not a vote of the residents of Tansi on whether or not we wanted a sewer system?
The creation of the sewer district was the product of a long period of time when sewers were required to be required. And the more you do that, the shorter time we have for other questions. But anyway, the district was formed under Title VII, Chapter 82, Parts 1 through 8. What does that mean? Of the Tansi Code, of the Tennessee Code annotated. That's part of the Tennessee law. You can find all that information about the formation of districts if you go to Mitchie's Legal Resources at www.mitchie.com/Tennessee and get all that information. Why there was not a vote? None was required.
Folks, I understand this is a sensitive issue to y'all. Please try to act in a respectful manner.
Wow, you guys didn't act.
Again, I'm just a moderator this evening. I'm not trying to get in between any of it.